A big reveal just went live here today. We got the first glimpse of the trailer of A World Betrayed. We also got a FAQ update as well as a Steam page launch on Steam. So today we're going to go through real quick what was announced. We're going to go through the trailer, talk about some of the historical significance of this era, as well as talk about a little bit of the Lu Bu and Sun Ce mechanics coming with the game. As always, with any of the Three Kingdoms content, I do my best to try and get pronunciations right. But if I do butcher anything, please let me know in the comments. I always want to make sure I get this properly done. So let's jump in with just the trailer. We'll kind of quickly go through this. I'm not going to stop and go. I'm just going to kind of press play and let it roll. I have the trailer was given to me ahead of time, so I was able to release this video with a little bit more production quality behind it. So I'm not going to be able to stop and go and stop and go and stop and go like I usually do. But let's dive right in on that trailer. We'll see what kind of comes up here. I'm really excited for this DLC. It's something a little bit different than what we've gotten so far. It does start in the year 194, but it kind of already starts out with the court here by Dong Zhuo, and then Lu Bu just straight shanks him. So we get that kind of starting here. It talks about fathership and how this is the adopted father, quote unquote, of Lu Bu. And Sun Jian is here being held by Sun Ce. Sun Ce at this point is probably around 16, 17 years old, and he's on campaign with him. We see Cao Cao here as well, probably looking over the news of the situation. I believe that's actually Liu Bei right there.
With a choice.
Kind of move its way through.
They follow the path put before them.
Still with the Jade Dragon of the Emperor.
A different road.
I like how it kind of swaps around. And now we get the first glimpse of Dao Qian with Lu Bu, and that is a pretty huge integral portion of his story. Lu Bu kind of just swaps back and forth with a lot of different characters throughout his tale in the Three Kingdoms, so it's very interesting to see them just kind of give her a nice little updated model there. We see the sisters, the two Chao sisters, Xiao Chao as well as Da Chao.
My father.
Every time I watch a Three Kingdoms trailer, I just get the craziest of goosebumps. Like, whew! It's the music, man. It's the music. It gets me down and dirty. So now that we've taken a look, though, at this actual DLC's trailer, let's talk a little bit about what's being added. Well, from the blog post, we know that we're getting two new factions led by Lu Bu and Sun Ce. We're going to be getting 13 playable factions alongside that in the starting date of 194. This is, of course, further than the standard start date of the game and kind of plays in line with a little bit more of the progression of what's happened so far in history. Dong Zhuo has again been assassinated by Lu Bu, and Lu Bu leads his own kind of legacy, his own kind of, I guess you could say, conquest. And Sun Ce begins his southern campaign. So it's going to be a pretty interesting campaign because there's not really a heavy opposition between these two. I would say Lu Bu is going to be interacting the most with Cao Cao. So that'll be his kind of, I guess you could say, primary rival. And with that, we're going to be getting a whole slew of new mechanics, some new units added to the game, some updated versions of their portraits, so on and so forth. Let's talk about Lu Bu and then talk about Sun Ce, and we'll take a look at some of the details that we're getting from the Steam page. But just to kind of go through the FAQ here real quick, this is another chapter pack being added to the game. It's coming out Thursday, March 19th at 1500 GMT. Also, we will be getting a FLC with this as well, and that will of course be added at the exact same time, and that'll be the Warlord Yan Bai Hu, the White Tiger Yan. And we'll see him as we kind of go through more and more reveals from Creative Assembly. We can talk more about that character, what his role is in the Grand Campaign, and how he's going to play in towards Lu Bu and Sun Ce. So as we kind of take a look here, we can also see that the original warlords that we've already played with will be coming back with the A World Betrayed, Liu Biao, Yuan Shi, Cao Cao, Zheng Jiang, Liu Bei, Kang Rong, Yuan Chuao, Zhang Yan, Ma Teng, and Gong Sun Zan. Man, whew, that was hard. I hope I got those right, or at least somewhat right. So let's take a look at some of the mechanics now of Lu Bu, what's coming with him, some of his new units, and then talk about Sun Ce after that. So if you want to follow along with our little discussion here about Lu Bu, you can just bring up this Steam page. I unfortunately don't have that to show off to you guys to talk about this, but essentially how Lu Bu is going to be, I guess, created is around this notion that he is the greatest warrior. He's going to have what's called the Greatest Warrior panel. Lu Bu's faction has access to the Greatest Warriors panel, featuring legendary warriors from the Three Kingdoms period. Defeating these legendary warriors with Lu Bu unlocks various permanent bonuses for the faction. And furthermore, if you kill, like, say, sets of them, right, like the Tiger Generals, you get an even bigger portion. So you're kind of more or less hunting your way through all these, you know, well-renowned fighters to increase your rapport as this amazing warrior, one that we know Lu Bu was. In addition, you also get momentum. Lu Bu's faction centers around Lu Bu himself, defeating enemies as faction leader. Defeating enemy characters grants momentum points, which enable a variety of powerful actions and bonuses. So we then kind of take a look at the overall story for Lu Bu. It focuses heavily, again, like we were saying earlier, the conflict between Cao Cao and Lu Bu. So will he kind of join up with Liu Bei and get involved with that whole relationship, and then again later betray him, just like he did in history? Or will you have a large problem kind of rallying your generals to, well, keep your faction intact? So Lu Bu does have access to 2 new units with Camp Crushers, which are 2-headed sword infantry, and then Flying Riders, which are an armored shock cavalry. So as the coming days unfold and more of our embargoes are lifted, we'll show off more gameplay about Lu Bu. What I hope to do is an overview for each one of our new quote-unquote playable factions with Lu Bu and Sun Ce. I mean, obviously we have played as these characters as portions of other factions in Dongzhuo or Sun Jian, but this time we're actually going to have them as starting legendary lords. Sorry, wrong game here. As starting faction leaders, as warlords. So I'll go through a high-level 10-15 minute overview of Lu Bu and a high-level 10-15 minute overview of Sun Ce. You'll be able to see that tomorrow on the channel, coming around 8-10 in the morning, around that kind of time. We'll talk about how their overall faction plays out, what it's like for them as a warlord, and what some of their mechanics look like. So you can get an idea for when this does go live, which one of these warlords are going to want to jump into first. Is it going to be Lu Bu? Is it going to be Sun Ce? But on that note, let's jump over to Sun Ce and talk a little bit about the oldest son, the descendant of Sun Jian. And when we look at the history of Sun Ce, it's a pretty tumultuous one. I mean, he takes over for his father in around 194, and he really only has 6 years before he's unfortunately assassinated. And he has a pretty huge relationship with Yuan Shi as he kind of tries to make a name for himself, more or less. And he does this through a lot of really amazing offensives throughout the Yang province. And by doing this, he really kind of cements this fact that he is a pretty lucky general. And it seems to be that Creative Assembly is taking that approach as well and really creating that as an actual faction mechanic for him. And Sun Ce, when he dies in 200 CE, is succeeded by his own brother, Sun Quan. So it stays in the family, at least, is what we're trying to say here. But be that as it may, his faction mechanics, again, they kind of give that nod to him being lucky. And he has one called Reckless Luck. Sun Ce's reckless behavior lets him expand his kingdom with unmatched speed and ease. But the luck that keeps him alive can't be sustained forever. If his luck runs out, Sun Ce dies. By completing his ambitions, his death can be delayed and perhaps avoided. And that kind of works really well into Legacy of Wu. Sun Ce has a list of ambitions, and completing these goals grants permanent bonuses to his faction. This includes tasks such as conquering lands in the south, gathering high-level characters in his court, and getting vengeance for his father's murder. So when we take a look at these two mechanics in conjunction, it's going to play very well with the new story events that are kind of centered around him, dealing with Yan Baihu and Yuan Shi, and kind of how that relationship works, because he's about conquering and expanding to the south. This is the big southern campaign for him. It's not the huge Wu southern campaign, that's a different one, but still, it's a very important one. So it's all about, proving your worth, and Sun Jian's old generals will flock to your faction. So we do get some new units with him: the Tiger Guard, the Handmaid Guard, the Mercenary Archers, Mercenary Infantry, and Mercenary Cavalry. This makes a lot of sense because we are going to be seeing the Qiao Sisters, so the Handmaidens hopefully will play all well into that. So as we kind of take a look at these two factions, we see a lot of the same stuff that we've already seen in Three Kingdoms. I don't think any of this is going to be amazingly like game breaking, but I think it's going to be a different way to approach the game that should be pretty fun and exciting, especially the time point, which will be, again, a pretty original one as far as expanding that additional chapter of the Three Kingdoms narrative. Because I think that's what's so important about Three Kingdoms, is that there are so many different portions of the history of this. When a lot of people think of the Three Kingdoms from a Western standpoint, you kind of think of course, the easy to pull up Dynasty Warriors portion, where you just have the warring warlords and less of the actual kind of evolution of each one of these factions, these warlords, the betrayals and the alliances that are formed, a lot of the relationships of opportunity that exist throughout the Three Kingdoms narrative. So should be a fun little addition to the game that goes through Lu Bu as a new faction leader and Sun Ce as a new faction leader. In the coming days or so, we'll be able to expand on these two generals or warlords and their factions in a quick little overview videos. If you guys would like me to stream this, I'm more than happy to. You just let me know what character you want me to do. Should I do Sun Ce? Should I do Lu Bu? Should I do our new character coming out with the FLC? You just let me know what makes the most sense for you guys, what you are the most excited for, and that's probably the one I'll do. I haven't done any 3K in the last since the last DLC, actually. I didn't touch Mandate of Heaven, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't think I did at all. So I'm more than happy to kind of revisit it here in 2020. They've made a lot of different changes to the game. They've changed a lot of portraits for the characters. One of the biggest things being added is just kind of refining that whole entire character approach, so every single main character has that unique look to them. And I think that's what makes the Three Kingdoms game so fun and interesting, is that you can really tell that each one of these characters was a person at one point. And as a result, you have their portrait, their character profile to really kind of fit in with that. When you're playing Total War Rome or Empire, sans the actual big historical characters, it's hard to really kind of put your finger on a character that really meant anything to the overall narrative in a way that Three Kingdoms does. You know, it's like when you take a look at Warhammer too, you get all these legendary characters because there are so many legendary characters. So that same kind of legendary character, legendary lord, warlord from Warhammer kind of bleeds into Three Kingdoms. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. I'm really excited to see how A World Betrayed fleshes out in the coming days, and we'll continue to cover that on the channel. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, and take care.